and beautiful leaf. In the spotlight they gleam, living the Pokemon dream. The Thickies Pokemon League, where the best and the bold. Only beauty can compete, only legends are told. Flashing lights and roaring crowd, in the ring they take their stance. Only pros and beauty queens, here they all get their chance. Thickies Pokemon League, the best and beautiful league. In the spotlight they gleam, living the Pokemon dream. From Bulbasaur to Charizard, strong and stunning and bright. Every battle's a star show, every match a pure delight. Electric sparks and fiery blaze, trainers shouting their cheer. This is where dreams are made, winning's our quest. Oh dear, Thickies Pokemon League, the best and beautiful league. In the spotlight they gleam, living the Pokemon dream. The Thickies Pokemon League, where the best and the bold. Only beauty can compete, only legends are told. Flashing lights and roaring crowd, in the ring they take their stance. Only pros and beauty queens, here they all get their chance. Thickies Pokemon League, the best and beautiful league. In the spotlight they gleam, living the Pokemon dream. From Bulbasaur to Charizard, strong and stunning and bright. Every battle's a star show, every match a pure delight. Electric sparks and fiery blaze, trainers shouting their cheer. This is where dreams are made, winning's our quest. Oh dear, Thickies Pokemon League, the best and beautiful league. In the spotlight they gleam, living the Pokemon dream. The Thickies Pokemon League, where the best and the bold. Only beauty can compete, only legends are told. Flashing lights and roaring crowd, in the ring they take their stance. Only pros and beauty queens, here they all get their chance. Thickies Pokemon League, the best and beautiful league. In the spotlight they gleam, living the Pokemon dream. From Bulbasaur to Charizard, strong and stunning and bright. Every battle's a star show, every match a pure delight. Electric sparks and fiery blaze, trainers shouting their cheer. This is where dreams are made, winning's our quest. Oh dear, Thickies Pokemon League, the best and beautiful league. In the spotlight they gleam, living the Pokemon dream. The Thickies Pokemon League, where the best and the bold. Only beauty can compete, only legends are told. Flashing lights and roaring crowd, in the ring they take their stance. Only pros and beauty queens, here they all get their chance. Thickies Pokemon League, the best and beautiful league. In the spotlight they gleam, living the Pokemon dream. From Bulbasaur to Charizard, strong.
Here we go. How you doing? No. Yeah, no. I would love for you to be the Thicky stud of the week. Unfortunately, you're not playing this season, and for the foreseeable future, from what I heard, you'll be holding out till Gen 10 possibly. Um, but yeah. We can't hear M. Is what Toby Z78 is saying there in the comments. Although they can hear my voice most likely. Never a connection problem with the Soho camp. We have the cleanest and highest technology there is at our disposal. Hopefully we can hear M soon.
Yeah, how's
Want to
that?
welcome everybody in.
They're working
Hello?
on the cables,
Yeah,
the raccoons, that is. But I think we're
raccoons.
live now. Yeah, so we got stud and dud of the
Yeah,
week.
we got you good.
I
Yep.
would be stud of the week if I were competing. I would be stud every
Mm-hmm.
week. Then we've also got a dud. Now this is courtesy of
Yep.
JJ Bigabottom, local moron, village idiot, and the Mac Camp. He's also a known Soho associate.
Yeah, you like to call him a Soho mouthpiece. We like to call him a big brain gentleman. The stud of the week coming up later is going to be Blink. He took down DP, who's a little bit of a tailspin lately for DP. Took a tough playoff loss versus Soho, and then he took a tough week 2 loss versus Blink. Fell 2-1. We'll have one of those replays on the games of the week coming up. Blink actually won earlier today. Before we can even cover that series, we'll get into more of that. Blink is off to a rocky 3-0. I know not really clean games, but he's getting the job done. Mikey, he's 3-0, and that's really what matters. Differential isn't great. Dropped a couple games, but Blink is really off to a good start. And hand in hand with Grandma, I think, is coaching him up. I think it has something to do with that. But Dud of the Week is somebody who's been coming in hot, not really showing it on the battlefield. This Tomato gentleman, the young fruit, as MRF called Tomato. A lot of hype. Got ranked by a few people the best squad in the TPL. Only 1-1. Mikey, any comments on that?
Yeah, I think maybe DP a little more deserving of the dud title. Definitely a little washed. Many would say.
Yeah, I guess you could say DP is a dub, but we know what he's gonna do. I think more or less we didn't really see a lot of hype preseason from the DP camp. More or less the people writing about the DP team, kind of a little bit more of a guy on flying under the radar, if you will. But this Tomato squad got ranked S, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 by some. 1-1, staying safe, pinned, and took him down. We'll talk about that later on. But let's get into these matchups. Sable 9 versus TB. TB looking to stay undefeated here, and I think he will. I got TB 2-1. Just looking at it on paper, I think he's going to find a way around that Baxcalibur King Gambit duo. Going to be a little tough for Gliscor to kind of get going here, especially with the Gyarados and the Baxcalibur, of course. Primarina can pose a threat. Superior can stack some Leaf Storms, but I think Dio Speed's a good pickup for Tobias to kind of go hand in hand with Magirna getting it going, stacking hazards and whatnot. Azumarill applying pressure with Belly Drum and such. I think Tobias has got a couple different angles he can attack this way.
Yeah, I agree with that. Tobias, I think, has the better matchup on paper, and I think the defending champion, the heavy favorite here in this series. What have you seen out of Sable 9 this season?
I think Sable 9 is utilized superior. I think in a way you've kind of seen most people do. Glare, Leaf Storm, stack it. I want to see a little bit more out of Hisuian Arcanine, specifically more just using it as a basher. We've seen him set up hazards before with it, which you can do, but I'd rather see other mons like Toadskrull be your hazard setters. I mean, sometimes it's just using Arcanine to be a choice band smasher, right? Just click head smash and flare blitz and let it do what it's supposed to do and really just be a suicide bomber, if you will. I think sometimes people overthink matchups and think maybe I can throw some hazards on it and kind of I just feel like when you got things like Baxcalibur and King Gambit who can clean up late game if you use Arcanine to clean up things early, sometimes you set the pace for the sweepers late game by having like a wall breaker like Arcanine just really just hit things up,
Yeah, and King Gambit and Baxcalibur also double as wall breakers in whatever situation you'd like to use them. Something really great about King Gambit is, especially in the OU format, just slap a black glasses on it, start poking things with that cleave a little bit. Can really wear things down. So yeah, you mix it up a little bit. Maybe better utilize the wall breakers, slash sweepers there. Obviously, King Gambit always a threat to clean up late. That brings us now to Greedent and Lil Luxio.
Yeah, Greedent really bounced back, I think. Week 2 pretty handily. I think he won 4-0 and then 3-0 one of the games. No, it was kind of a cleaning up from the Greedent camp there. Really impressive. Showcased, I guess, that team, what really want to see there. Gouge of Fire, really slow start so far, but Toxtricity starting to get going. Valiant really showed off last week, so I like Greed in this matchup. I think Sinister's got a good matchup. Luxio just acquired Great Tusk. You're probably going to want to see Great Tusk get thrown into the fray here. Clarence Low King actually is a pretty good matchup for Valiant, but you got to watch out for things like Gadget Fire getting going here, who does pose a pretty good threat into Luxio's team. Will we see Crocolore off the bench? That's going to be up to Luxio if he wants to do that. But I don't know. I feel like Greed's got more momentum going into Luxio's team here. Look for Weavile to be a threat to force Slow King out with knockoffs and such.
Yeah, that top 5 on Luxio's side and that top 5 or 6 on Greedon's side is somewhat reminiscent of an OU team in recent times. So this should be a fun matchup. Greedon, I think, maybe not the same level of coach as Lil Luxio historically, but definitely seems to have locked in a little bit this season.
Yep.
What's your pick ultimately for these two?
I'm gonna agree to 2-1. I think Weavile and Valiant, it's a very interesting duo, especially in this scenario, right? Valiant can take care of Tusk, Weavile can take care of Slow King. Hand in hand duo right there. Clefable's gonna be lurking in the back, but there is Corv Knight to heavy slam it if you want. I just think Greedon's got a lot of pressure that's gonna pose some threats for Luxio. Kind of a slower core, more to get going, right? Clefable, Slow King, very slow. Don't really have to run max speed on either of those guys, right? And you can kind of just run a more aggressive nature and really just start to pump things. Just got to keep hazards off the field if you're Greedon. But I think Luxio's good enough to take a game.
Gonna be hard to keep those hazards off the field with the Defiant Bisharp, especially as a Terra captain. My goodness, you don't really want to defog into that. And then also, I'm looking at Lil Luxio's side, and Curum looks, especially potent here.
Very good.
Really, your only real ice resist is Weavile. That's just not going to get it done. Especially if we're looking at like maybe a spec set or even a boots attacker, Curious to see what Luxio brings in that regard. I think looking at the team matchup and just what I've seen out of these two this season, which is actually nothing, I'm going to have to go with Lil Luxio.
Yeah, I'll go agree to 2-1 here.
Haven't been tuned in enough to really say what their play looks like so far, but just based on matchup, what I know about these two historically, I think Lil Luxio 2-1. We'll have to revisit this next week.
Yep.
And that brings us to Pacheco versus the Great Herendai.
Yeah, I mean, Herendai, tough loss last week. He's always in the games, right? He's always scuffling. He's always throwing hands. And Pacheco actually 6-0 Tobias in game 2. Was also putting hands on Tobias in game 1 before Ogerpon H fell to a Houndstone who was not running the Fluffy, so was not weak to a Cudgel, which it lived. I think with 1 health point, just want to say it was right around there. I was running Sand Rush, of course. Pacheco does run the Storm of the Sand stat from the Tyranitar Sports. Pacheco put some hands on Tobias. I'm not going to lie to you. I was watching that series. Never really seen Pacheco play before. He's put little hands on Tobias. Little 1-2. How you doing? 6-0 in game 2 for a Mimikyu sweep. I like Pacheco to win here. Nothing really knocking Herendai's play style. I just think Pacheco's going to find a way, right? You're good enough to take a game off the defending champ. You should be good enough to beat, Herendai, who seemed to struggle last couple of seasons. Look for Mimikyu again to really get going. Good matchup here, especially if it has the decoy up. +2 Swords Dance for his DO defense. Good damage. Play rough versus Darkrai. Got a lot of options here for
versus Pacheco. That Darkrai. Anyway, Pacheco, does take the 6-0 versus Tobias, but keep in mind, a lot of high level players can be swept by many random things 6-0 when the circumstance presents itself. Kind of like Swaggy did to you, I think, a couple times. And I did it to Swaggy. You did it to Swaggy. Okay, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah. The better player sometimes loses to random 6-0 sweepers. Anyway, with that in mind, I kind of like the matchup Herendai's got here. Of course, you don't have anything that can really switch into Hearthflame. Most teams don't. I think the Terra captains here, Tornadus and Iron Thorns, both could be big. I think if you bring both of them, you can really force Pacheco into some bad positions. I like Herendai 2-1 here. I think he's gonna find his footing here in week 3. And that's gonna bring us now to Chiva and Frost DP. This may be the match of the week.
Yeah, gonna definitely be a game of the week. Now, DP did shuffle his team after a brutal loss versus Blink. Whole new team here. He's got Latias, Heatran, Mamoswine, Weezing's a Terra captain now. Milotic's a Terra captain. Picks up Star Raptor. Dedeni's probably not going to see the field, and then Serena comes on over. Third team that Serena's been on in 3 weeks has been on Soho and on Luxio's team. So DP trades Great Tusk, the 5th overall pick for Urshifu single strike. Really wasn't working out for either side. Luxio obviously wanted to see a little bit more out of Urshifu. I think DP is going to have the upper hand here. I'm going to go with DP 2-1. I like Chiva's team. Chiva's grinded out wins. Picked up one versus Greedent, and then just picked up one versus Greedent. Greedent and who did they beat? I forget. We'll have to check that.
Yeah, I don't like the DP matchup here at all. And keep in mind, DP just dropping a series to a rookie. Chiva's got the hazard stack. DP's not going to have a way to get rid of that versus that Goldingo, most likely. And I think it'll be a series in which Chiva gets momentum early and the DP is not really able to recover from. Big Sandy Shocks fan as well. Really, really like this matchup here for Chiva. Also, Samurott doesn't necessarily have to be like a hazard setting lead all the time, too. You pass it a sub, It's really going to be tough for that team of DP to really deal with. Nothing really wants to take those repeated sharpness boosted hits. With that being said, I think Chiva 2-0 here. I think DP's got to figure it out, man.
Yeah, he's definitely got to figure it out. I definitely would be more confident in Chiva's camp. I do know that this is starting to get. You don't want to go 1-2 in this conference, especially with DP, right? You start to slip down. You may draw Tobias or Chiva again round 1. You kind of find it in those middle grounds, right? But I definitely think Milotic being a Terra captain now gives a little flexibility going into things like Rillaboom and Sandy Shocks. You can kind of withstand some attacks. Halucha obviously has been a big player for Chiva so far this season. Will Halucha get enough momentum going? Swords Dance Encore looks pretty good into DP's core here.
Yeah, I really like a substitute Swords Dance set too. Don't even necessarily need terrain. I mean, you're so much faster than most of that squad anyway. And then the Terra captains from Chiva, really nice there. You've got Comfy with the priority via triage, and then you've also got the Electrode there. With that, fast speed tier, that priority you've also got Rillaboom on the team. I mean, it just makes it really hard for opponents to really boosting sweepers and that sort of thing to really shut you out, or even just strong offensive types like Spectrier. I just don't see what DP is going to do, but he's a hell of a player, and anything's possible. He could definitely squeak out a win, but I think Chiva the heavy favorite here. We're going to take Chiva 2-0.
I'll go DP 2-1. I'm going to ride DP. I think the little guy's going to wake up. And I also want to bring up real quick the ratings that some of these preseason people looked at. They were ranking Chiva's team in the C tier. I just don't see it. I didn't really see it preseason. I don't see it now. I think this is a really rock-solid team from Chiva, and I think the record so far is showing that. I really don't know what these grids were doing. I mean, they were ranking teams like Soho, 4.5 out of 10. What were those guys doing? Anyways, we're moving on. Ichigo versus Blink. That already happened. I already said I was going to take 2-0. Blink, I believe Blink brought 3 mons to game 1. I'll have the producer look into that. That game already happened, but yeah.
Producer not happy from what I'm told. It is against the rules to start a match with less than, or fewer than, I should say, 6 Pokemon. Producer not happy. I'm not happy. Fans weren't happy. Like I said, there are other ways to disrespect your opponent. Don't necessarily have to bring fewer mons than you normally would.
Yeah.
LeBron James misses a 3 here. That head is looking shiny. My goodness. Jazz currently up big here in the first. That's the NBA update brought to you by Draft Queens. Let's turn our focus back now to Blink and Ichigo 90. And, Blink undefeated at the moment. I think this is going to be not particularly close. They already played, didn't they?
Yeah, 2-1. Blink dropped the first one by DQ.
That's right.
Won the next 2 pretty comfortably.
Very nice. Ichigo off to a rough start.
Yeah, just trying to find the footing in the TPL is not for everyone, right? You can either be 3-0, you can be 0-3. You got to find your ground. There's 8 weeks. Top 8 make playoffs. Just got to hang around, right? And just don't be the bottom 2.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough league to step foot in for the first time. Very competitive. Lots of accomplished coaches in this league. And the roster just leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, you go Glamora round 1, you go
Glamora round 1
was round 2. I mean, the
Yeah.
next two picks I think are great value at rounds 3 and 4, but you've already dug yourself such a hole that it's hard to come back from. And I'm not sure the Terra captains make the most sense here, but it's a long
No.
season, a lot of transactions to be made. Perhaps he can turn it around. And that's going to bring us now to Mino versus Mr. Boy.
Yeah, Mr. Boyd, tough loss. I believe it was like an 80 turn loss to Hansi, who I'm playing this week. So we watched that one pretty closely. Mr. Boy, good roster, just kind of fell to, ape, late game ape. I mean, it gets everyone, right? Scarf ape, hit it once, that Rage Fist is going to be pumping up. I like Mr. Boy to bounce back here. I think Polt has a good matchup here. I think Polt can really just run, different things here. Going into Lando, going into Treads. Cinderace looks pretty decent here as well. Click U-turn into Mew, get some momentum. Metagross decent into Cornerstone as well. Haven't seen Ditto yet from Mino, so we'll see if that comes to fruition this week.
Yeah, Ditto turning into Dragapult could be very
Right.
scary for Mr. Boy,
Right.
especially if it's like a Specs variety. Having Umbreon on the side of Mino really helps versus Dragapult. That's a luxury a lot of teams don't have versus the Dragapult, but still have to be wary of the U-turns. I'm looking at that roster, and I'm wondering whether, maybe Umbreon as a defensive Terra captain would give you a little more value than the
Right.
Wug Trio. But it's a long season, a lot of transactions to be made. Could just be testing the waters at the moment. Mr. Boy, I think is the favorite here, just based on the body of work and what I know about these two. I like the Cinderace matchup here a lot. It's just
Yeah, I
faster
do
than
too.
everything. It just looks really tough.
Yeah, it clicks U-turn into pretty much everything here pretty comfortably, right? You can U-turn out in front of a Keldeo, go to Mola, take whatever you're going to throw, Wish, go into Polt, momentum, boom, right there. It just kind of just build momentum there. I think
Do
Vileplume
have
looks
to
pretty
be
decent here.
careful, activating that weak armor on the Cerro Ledge with a U-turn
Sure.
potentially. But then again, you do have a Loma Mola on the team, and you can always finish that Cerro Ledge off with a Sucker Punch if need be. Yeah, I think that Cinderace matchup looking a lot more scary than
Delectable.
the Dragapult matchups. I like Mr. Boy here.
Yeah, I'll go Mr. Boy 2-1.
I'll go Mr. Boy 2-0.
Hmm.
And now we got MRF versus Tomato. This is another highlight matchup in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's going to be good. You really want to watch this one live. I mean, Mr. Boy and Hansi was a drawn-out series last week. This is my other pick for a long drawn-out series. I think both of these players will bring their A game. I mean, MRF is number 2 in the league, red hot. Only dropped one game so far versus staying safe. Won pretty handedly last week. Actually, versus Mino, I'm pretty sure. Close games. Had a lot of momentum going there. But I really like MRF in this scenario as well. I just think that MRF is going to be able to withstand what Tomato's going to throw. I mean, I know Tomato's got Meowscarada, momentum, blah, blah. I think Paul D'Antoros is a good answer for Meowscarada. Caesar can answer what an Amorous is going to do for the most part, as long as you don't switch to a Mystical Fire. I think Chomp will be a little annoying for MRF, but you do have the Antelion, who's been actually really impressive. Top 5 in kills so far. Really good usage out of MRF. Out of your 7-pointer there. Right, that's getting like a value shooter, right? Mikey splashing 4 threes off the bench. Antelion being top 5 in kills. I've really been impressed with Tomato, even in the wins. Not really seeing what I'm seeing so far preseason. I like MRF 2-1.
Well, I must say, MRF's team does have probably one of the better Meowscarada matchups possible between the Tauros, the Scizor, and the Screamtail, who can tank just about any of those hits.
Even Gengar, Scarfgar, decent option.
Yeah, potentially. I also like that a lot of these rosters, I know some people like to see the lower tier mon. I personally like when there's a lot of, 5 or 6 really high base stat total, real powerhouses, maybe UU and beyond type Pokemon to really go at it. To me, it's like watching the NBA versus like watching college hoops or like high school ball or something,
Yeah.
It's fun every now and then, but I kind of want to see the best go at it. And these are 2 high-powered rosters here. I think I like Tomato. I think Meowscarada, even with those counters, is really able to put a lot of pressure onto that squad regardless via knockoff and U-turn. And, I've run Meowscarada into squads with, Tauros Blaze before. I think it was Frost DP. Actually, a legendary series we had, I think it was in the regular season, went to 3 games, and it really came down to some, Meowscarada versus Paldean Tauros sort of pivoting. So it's not, slapping Tauros on a team, and having a Meowscarada counter is that easy because ultimately it is a pivot that's easily able to wear you down. And Meowscarada can do other things too. It can set toxic spikes. There's some like nice suicide lead set. Of course, it's got the choice sets. It can trick something onto its counters potentially. And then Garchomp, I'm looking at, just has such a fantastic matchup here.
Yeah, Garchomp does look really good here.
You're almost forced to run the Braviary just to have something to switch into Earthquake. Screamtail's fine, but Screamtail does such a pittance in damage to Garchomp if it really tries to take it out. Just being so weak and Garchomp being so bulky. I mean, there's potential even for Garchomp, depending on the set, to even Swords Dance right in front of Screamtail. So I like Tomato's matchup here, and it can be an adjustment to a best of 3 league too if that's not what you're used to playing. That may be what we're seeing here. So I like Tomato here 2-1, though I think MRF, impressive as always, and I can easily see it going either way.
Yeah, I'll stick with my gut feeling here. I think MRF is going to find a way. All those things you mentioned do sound pretty good, especially Garchomp, but maybe Antelion series again.
Yeah, and I mean, something else to keep in mind too is that Rotom Wash and Meowscarada together form a great, sort of pivoting core, and Jirachi can even play a role in that as well.
Yeah.
I just think, based on what I'm seeing here out of these two rosters, and what I know about MRF and the hype that Tomato received coming into the season, maybe due for a win here. And the way the rosters match up, I really am a fan. Keep in mind, Jirachi can tech its way around a lot of these Mons on the side of MRF too.
It is faster than Tinglu.
Something I really like on Jirachi, and part of the reason I don't like using it in draft because I always default to like an Iron Head, Psychic Noise, a couple filler moves. Sometimes it's Wish, sometimes it's Healing Wish, sometimes Wish Protect, sometimes it's like Fire Punch for coverage. But just Psychic Noise and like Iron Head alone, able to force like so much progress against a lot of teams. And that's without getting into other stuff it can do, like Doom Desire sets. Doom Desire with Meowscarada can actually be really difficult to deal with.
Yeah, it is. Puts a ton of pressure. Just click U-turn after one, or even knock off into something,
Yeah, absolutely. Even late game situations, Doom Desire followed by a Healing Wish into Garchomp. What are you switching into that? You can't switch in, what you'd really like to. Tinglu should play a big role here. Will we see maybe an offensive variant? I've always been a fan of that. I think it's really...
Wouldn't it be opposed for a Cover Cloak Tinglu here? If Rashi starts, starting to annoy you a little bit,
Maybe. I think the Leftovers Protect, with physical investment, probably a better option into, Iron Head Jirachi. It's really, unless it's Choice Band or something, even then it's going to need a ton of flinches. Tinglu just being so bulky physically. Reveroom as a Terra Captain is pretty nasty too, actually. There's a lot of matchups. We maybe haven't seen what it can do yet to the full extent, but there's a lot of matchups where it gets a boost and then is able to terastalize and really, really mess things up for the opponent.
Talonflame looks good here, just looking at it on paper as well. Switching into pretty much anything Caesar is going to throw at it.
Yep, you got your only fire type Tauros over there. Really doesn't want to take the flying stab. But you do have Blastoise and Inteleon. Tinglu doesn't want to be burned by the Talonflame. That's something else to consider. Talonflame, I think, has done decently in TPL in past seasons. Not really as an attacker, obviously, but nice utility piece. Let's move on now to Hanzi and Veli. And, looking at these two, I think I've got to go Hanzi 2-0.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens.
I think Annihilate, always going to be tough for Sneasler. But at the end of the day, there still is the Psy Spam element of the team that's going to make it really tough for Annihilate. Will we see maybe a choice set, maybe a Sash lead set, maybe, Final Gambit even. That's been seen in the past. What are your thoughts heading into the series?
I think facing Hanzi's team is kind of like facing like a landmine, a field of landmines. You got a lot of things you got to watch out for. I mean, the team's slower than mine for the most part, but, Muck is pretty annoying. Tinkaton annoying. Conk is annoying, even though they're side spam. Arboliva is annoying, can reset the terrain. Ursulina Blood Moon is sneaky bulky on the special side, so, I got to be careful with that, of course, with Crown. And don't poke the bear, I think is the motto of the week from Greet It. You don't really want to poke Annihilate, but got to make sure, it's not hanging around late game. So even Whimsicott, I think, is somebody that, you're going to have to watch out for. Just a lot of annoying Mons on Hanzi's team. I think that's why Hansi was able to get the win over Mr. Boy despite having Dragapult and whatnot run around. Definitely gonna have to be careful. We're playing at 6 Eastern on Sunday. Looking into this matchup, gonna be tougher than it looks on paper, I think, for the solo offense. But we're pretty confident going into this one.
I like Torkoal here as maybe an offensive piece, really exploiting the lack of fire resist outside of Como.
Yeah.
Azov too, I think, can potentially flip the script on the side terrain there. We'll see what happens.
Sure.
I like Hansi here, 2-0, possibly 1-0, maybe a rage quit after the first game. Something to keep
I may
an
just
eye
break
on
4
there.
and get DQ'd.
Yeah, exactly. Staying safe versus Marto 11, and staying safe has looked good so far.
Yeah, he has looked good, but Marto coming off a big Game 3 slugfest against Maki, who is 0-2. We'll get into more about that next matchup, but Marto fell in a couple close games versus me and then bounced back. Big win versus Maki. Staying safe has been yapping a lot in the chat, so we'll see if he backs it up. I think Marto's got a decent matchup though here, right? I mean, Pagos is always a threat. Roaring Moon looks pretty damn good here for the most part. I'm gonna go Marto 2-1. I think he's the silent killer here, Mikey.
Potentially, I think that's
he's got
top
Geezing
two.
to answer Dragonite. He's got Geezing to answer Quaquaval. Moth can't do much against Slowking. I mean, you can click Discharge, but you're risking a stab attack right back at you.
Yeah. That top two of Marto looks very impressive. Terrapagos and Roaring Moon, very hard to deal with on either side of the spectrum. And staying safe, though, with the Terracout and Mandibuzz, I think has counterplay to a lot of things that a lot of people just don't on their roster. I think Dragonite really somebody to watch here if it gets going. One Dragon Dance, could be devastating. We'll see if Satitan plays a role in this matchup next to the Chili Reception Slowking. That's a Terra Captain choice I like. For 7 points next to Slowking, you don't really get better value than that. I think staying safe just has such a nice offensive team with Dragonite, Quaquaval, Iron Moth, really able to put a lot of pressure on teams. And then Necrozma is like a booster. Also, just something you always have to keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
I think I would go with staying safe here, 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go Marto 2-1. I think he has good answers to what Dragonite and Quaquaval wants to do, especially if you slap like a Rocky Helmet, right, on Geezing. Really just start to chip down things. Mandibuzz doesn't really want to switch into Weezing. I mean, you can't click Toxic into it. You can't really do much against it. I think he's got decent answers. And plus, the way I'm looking at it, if Marto gets one Dragon Dance from Roaring Moon up and Mandibuzz is gone, that's one dead staying safe for the most part.
Yeah, let's take a look now at Maki versus Litcat.
Yeah, so I just played Litcat, so I can kind of dive into what this will be. I mean, Maki 0-2. I mean, Maki's been right there in pretty much every matchup, losing in Game 3. Maki themselves has said that 3-game series, not their strong suit, did want to give another crack at it. To me, Litcat is coming off a grinding loss at Soho. I'm going to go Maki to bounce back, though. I definitely think Maki will find a way. I just think there's going to be a ton of pressure to find a win. I think for both teams, Litcat has got that Basculegion. I think you got to watch out for Zamazenta. Actually, I'm changing my pick. I'm going Litcat. I like Basculegion here. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm gonna go Litcat 2-1. More than I'm looking at it, Klefki,
Not
threat.
sure Basculegion has the greatest matchup here into his team with Sylveon and Empoleon. What are you thinking there? A Scarf set?
No, Klefki sets the rain. Swift Swim, boss.
Quite
Life Orb.
possibly, even though Empoleon
Swift
and
Swim, Life Orb,
Sylveon are
though.
still going to give it some trouble. And you also,
If Zam is chipped.
anytime you run Life Orb like that, you do run the risk of, a Battle Bond Greninja coming in low and really putting you into a tough position with the Water Shuriken. Zamazenta is going to make things really tough. And keep in mind, Zapdos, a great rain abuser on its own right. If you do set the rain, you are going to have trouble switching into Zapdos with those 100% accurate Hurricanes. That being said, like you said, Maki's so far off to a slow start.
Mm-hmm.
But I think ultimately, from what I see out of these two rosters, I think Maki gets it done. Big week for Maki here. I'm going Maki 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Litcat 2-1. I think Torterra, even after a Shell Smash, especially with that Terra. Donphan, Sturdy, buy, boom, see ya. Zapdos, buy, boom, see ya. Pecharon can't really do a lot after a headlong rush. Empoleon, same thing. Even if you Terra, Zamazenta gets worn down. Late game Basculegion, that Guppy is gonna be guppying.
Yeah, I mean, you still do have Zamazenta potentially
And
to
then
stop a
Lando I.
Torterra sweep.
And
And
then Lando I.
even then, Donphan, even with Sturdy, there are some things Donphan can do. You could see maybe like Endure, Custap Berry, little Endeavor, Ice Shard action, maybe. Hell, I don't know. There's lots of things Donphan can do. That's why it's 14 points, I
I
believe.
mean, if Rabambi sets webs, right, Lando I has a huge advantage over Zamazenta.
What if
And even
Zamazenta has
Greninja too.
boots? I mean, there's it's
You're
not
right.
really that cut and
Right.
dry. You see a Rabambi on the other side, you're thinking webs. Whether you try and get rid of that with like Donphan or defog it or just run boots. I mean, that's the simplest way around it. And then again, Zapdos also not worried about the webs. Also able to take an attack potentially from Landorus. We'll see if they slot in like the physical rock slide or something similar to bring down the Zapdos. Even then, can invest bulkily enough to not be too worried about that. I just think Maki gets it done here. You know, you do when you set the manual rain like you're describing. That's a turn in itself too, and sometimes it's hard to find that turn.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah, we got a hashtag LitCat in the chat from somebody. Looks like Shade. I'm not sure who
I'm
that
not
is.
sure who that could be either. Klefki too is something else to keep in mind if you're trying to get the prankster rain dance off. You're not gonna be able to do that versus Quillfish or Greninja. Something else to keep in
Right.
mind there. And if you're not running prankster, you're gonna run the risk of just getting your shit pushed in by whatever's in front of you, right? So definitely some mind games there. I think I still like Maki here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go LitCat. I think even LitCat. I think they set up screens versus me to try to stop some of my hyper offense. Not a bad idea here as well. Haven't seen Battle Bond. I know you touched on Battle Bond for Maki. We haven't seen Battle Bond Greninja yet. Maki likes to run the protein variant through 2 weeks, 6 games. I was actually messaging Tobias. I was wondering when that Battle Bond was going to show. I've not seen it. Could it be this week? We'll see.
Let's get those replays up, and we're gonna start here
Yep.
with Blink versus DP.
Yeah, we got it pulled up.
All right, 1, 2, 3, let's roll.
Yeah, so DP, this was before he changed it up. He has the Milotic, Jolteon, Mabostiff, Skarm, Spectre, Grey Tusk. Pretty much everything on this team got sent out. Muhammad Ali from the Blink side. Actually, a really, really tough matchup for DP now that I'm looking
I
at
want
it
to
here.
say, looking
I
at
mean,
these early turns, you just versus a team with Ogrepon W, you just you don't really click flip turn so
Yeah, what was
flippantly,
that?
so to speak. Turn one, turn two, whatever it was, flip turn. You know, that's just putting you off to such a bad start, and Mabasa not going to be able to eat that cudgel there. And you're just already on the back foot.
Yeah, you're down 6-4 already. And then you're really back into. I mean, even if you have Tusk coming out here.
You've got to see a
doesn't
Brave
click.
Bird from Skarmory there too.
Yeah. Yeah, here comes Joe Rogan, misspell as well. I think it's an EN. Like to see that get
It's
edited
spelled
as well.
correctly. It's definitely AN
Ooh.
for Rogan. Miss Power Whip there, big. That Dragon Tail is going to finish off the Wellspring, who was in the rain and definitely going to do some damage.
Yeah, but look at this wave crash right here
My
from
goodness.
Mike Tyson.
Good night.
My goodness. My goodness. And then the quick feet Jolteon. Good tech there from
Yeah, and the Weather Ball too.
DP?
This is great use of Jolteon here, and I'm a big fan.
Yeah, DP says bang inside the chat. Little bit of a trash talk right there. But Mike Tyson comes back in. Pretty much gonna be all she wrote here for the most part. Quick game. By the way, there's the Stone Edge. Boom, Ring Girl. See ya. Not really a fan of that nickname either. Mike Tyson comes right back in. Wave crash. Boom. Thanks for coming out. And then the Spectre is pretty much done here after the hazards.
Yeah, you really needed to see, I think, to win this, maybe like a substitute or something here. But then even then, Politoed is gonna, yeah, and there is the
Super.
substitute.
Yeah,
Politoed's just gonna be able to
Politoed
live
is-
that. Ideally, you want to stall out these rain turns,
Yep.
but it's just a little too late.
Another sub right there I would have done. Yeah, I would have clicked sub again. I mean, you probably not going to win in the long run, but
No, your best bet, I think, is like he's doing. He's realized the, sort of the sequence he needs to win. and it's really to stall out these rain turns, but it just doesn't look
Oh,
like you're going to have the time. And
there's the
that's a big
hypnosis.
hypnosis.
Well,
And I gotta
and then
say,
Mike
that
Tyson's
is a
going to come
very
back in.
risky play
Yeah,
from Blink there. A 60%
yeah.
hypnosis on a turn where you also do risk, hypnosising into a sub.
Waking up. Yep.
Yeah, or even a
And then you
wake
get the
up.
boost after you kill.
But it was unfortunate that we did see a little bit of luck there with the miss on the melodic, who subsequently ate shit to the water boosted wave crash.
For sure.
But definitely a good game there from Blink. Really leveraged his options well. And you look at the team on paper, you see like a lot more heavy hitters. Just a lot like traditionally more powerful Pokemon on the side of DP, and Blink's still able to get it done. It's going to take us now to Girl Boss Gaming versus Mar 11, and I believe this is Maki versus Marto.
Yes, this is Maki versus Marto.
And we're going to
just
go in
looking
one,
at,
two, three, play.
yeah, just looking at this one on paper, you probably would favor the Maki camp, Mikey.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this team, just the sort of pedigree of the Pokemon on the side of Maki. But Marto 11 had something else planned.
Yeah, Marto 11, even when I played him, I think turn by turn actually impressed me with the double switches, and just get the overall knowledge of the game and how Mons work. I really was impressed with Marto. I actually did pick, we can actually go back to that. I picked Marto to win this series 2-1, so I want my little pity award there. Jazz up 36-27 going into the second.
Yeah, Lowry Markkinen, wow.
Yeah, hanging and banging down low. But Entei puts a lot of pressure onto Maki's team, as you see right there. The burn, a lot of damage. I mean, but the damage is done for the most part there. Zapdos gone, and Zapdos was a decent answer into Slowking.
Absolutely, Bob.
And then you'll see Slowking, who actually played a pretty big role. I think letting Zapdos die was tough for Maki here. As you see, Slowking can really just kind of pivot around now at will. One of the main threats is not there anymore, and then Pagos is going to start to go to work here. And Maki was upset. I think one Malignant Chain proc this whole series. If I'm not mistaken, it happened to Slowking. A little bit of hacks on that side. Then there's the crit. Boom, see you. Thanks for coming out to dinner. Pagos starting to get working. Girl Boss Game was not happy about that. Marto was a champ, though. Said sorry. Sandaconda goes down. Didn't really do a lot this series. Doesn't really do a lot in general, but, it does get the playtime from the Marto camp.
Entei, longtime favorite of the Peckerton camp there.
Yeah, would have liked to see the shiny variant, but he left that at home today.
I would have liked to see
really sure
a
what that-
Sacred Fire there. Maybe you just don't want to risk the burn,
mess
but it's going to have the
of
same effective base power, and you do have the chance to burn. I mean, maybe you didn't want to risk a miss, is what I meant to say. Definitely want to go
Yeah,
for a
I was
burn.
going to say a miss, yeah.
Maybe that was the thinking there. But a Sacred Fire burn on something like Donphan, huge.
Yeah, but I think right here is where you really would want to have Zapdos for situations like this. But now, Titan comes in free. Belly Drum, Citrus Berry.
That thing's bulky, folks.
Yeah, look at it eat that EQ. Empoleon comes in. Ice Shard does live it. Burning out a turn of snow here.
Yeah, good play there. Good piece of business from the Maki camp.
Yeah, I think at this point, I mean, I know it's 5-2, but, Greninja poses such a late game threat if it was the Battle Bond variant, Mikey, and we didn't see it. I mean, for the most part, right, if Greninja cleans up Amon, I mean, it's pretty much taking everybody out on that team, no?
Yeah, quite potentially.
Right? I mean, boom. Thunder is done. I'm pretty sure Slowking was almost dead. I mean, Pagos maybe lives. I mean, Entei's done after rocks. Slowking's at 9%. We'll probably bring it back up to half.
Yeah, Battle Bond maybe had the potential to win there.
Yeah, no.
Especially since Entei, unless Terapagos is able to get a spin off, is not able to re-enter the game and threaten with extreme speed. Very close and entertaining game there, though.
Good game. And then the game of the week, Staying Safe versus the Young Fruit.
Yep, 1, 2, 3, we're playing.
Yeah. So what did you see? This was game 2. What did you see from both sides here? I guess before the game started.
I really like Frostlass here. I think it's really difficult to switch into for a lot of teams. It also threatens to put the hazards up and threatens a Destiny Bond potentially to bring down whatever you bring in. Hitmontop, long-time fan favorite.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think people forget that you can run physical Frostlass, right? I mean, it's almost forgotten about.
So yeah, same attacking stat on either side.
Yeah, actually, that's a fact. I did not know that. I thought it was a little bit lower, but yeah, this is, I guess, what you could see from Mandibuzz. It's just the ability to switch in. I mean, eat axles for the most part. It does lose its heavy duty boots, but a free U-turn right there. You can come back in later. But Lycanroc went nuts this series. I'm not sure if you saw it, but staying safe. If he had a mon of the week, it would be Lycanroc. Really did a lot of work in this series here, especially versus things like an Amorous who's taking chip damage. Here's Moth, who has a really good matchup right now.
Yeah, I've always liked Lycanroc. It hits a lot harder than you'd expect
Sure.
with that tough claws.
Not good chomp usage right there.
Well, I mean, Chomp's job really is to switch into Iron Moth most of the time.
Yeah, just a good read there from staying safe. And then D-Knight is going to come in for the most part. And Healing Wish on a DD is good business there. I think you take that majority of the time. There's the Ice Spinner. Boom. Thanks for coming out. And then Revadoom. He's
Yeah,
going to
the
DD.
Healing Wish actually not a great piece of business there when you consider that.
No, I was
multi-scale
saying
would have been broken
no.
at this point.
I was referring to a great piece of business for staying
Ah, I
safe.
see. Gotcha. Yeah, great Dragon
Yeah.
Dance on that turn. Really no reason not to go for it there.
Right. And then at this point, maybe a little too late for the Revadoom.
Yeah, great. I think
Future sight.
the sequencing there just maybe a little bit out of order. Did have a potential to sweep with that Reverum, perhaps, if things had gone a little differently earlier in the game.
Yep.
I don't think the Healing Wish provided much there, and then a good read by staying safe made sure that the Garchomp was unable to really get any value in this game. And I think that's it. I think that's all we got for you all
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah,
Once again,
that's all we got.
questions, comments, concerns, the producer's inbox, Walrasians, my own, Machiavelli's, Tommy Tutu's, the board members, all at your disposal. Been a great season so far. Going by fast. Games getting completed on time. The